Sunday, January 28, the Days of Evil. Read Psalm 74, 18 to 22, and 79, 5 to 13. What is at stake here? First of all, Psalm 74, beginning at verse 18. Remember this, that the enemy has reproached, O Lord, and that a foolish people has blasphemed your name. O, do not deliver the life of your turtle dove to the wild beast. Do not forget the life of your poor forever. Have respect to the covenant, for the dark places of the earth are full of the haunts of cruelty. O, do not let the oppressed return ashamed. Let the poor and needy praise your name. Arise, O God, plead your own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproaches you daily. And Psalm 79, 5 to 13. How long, Lord, will you be angry forever? Will your jealousy burn like fire? Pour out your wrath on the nations that do not know you, and on the kingdoms that do not call on your name, for they have devoured Jacob and laid waste his dwelling place. Oh, do not remember former iniquities against us. Let your tender mercies come speedily to meet us, for we have been brought very low. Help us, O God of our salvation, for the glory of your name, and deliver us and provide atonement for our sins for your name's sake. Why should the nations say, where is their God? Let there be known among the nations in our sight the avenging of the blood of your servants which has been shed. Let the groaning of the prisoner come before you, according to the greatness of your power. Preserve those who are appointed to die, and return to our neighbours sevenfold into their bosom their reproach with which they have reproached you, O Lord. So we, your people and sheep of your pasture, will give you thanks forever. We will show forth your praise to all generations. What is at stake here? The psalmist seeks to grasp the great controversy between God and the powers of evil, and he points to God's unfathomable forbearance, as well as to his infinite wisdom and power. The problem of evil in the Psalms is primarily theological. It inevitably concerns questions about God. Thus, the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple is seen principally as a divine scandal, because it provided an opportunity for the heathen to blaspheme God. God's inheritance, the people of Israel, is the sign of his divine election and covenant that will never fail, as we read in Deuteronomy 4, 32 to 38. For ask now concerning the days that are past, which were before you, since the day that God created man on the earth, and ask from one end of heaven to the other, and whether any great thing like this has happened, or anything like it has been heard. Did any people ever hear the voice of God speaking out of the midst of the fire, as you have heard, and live? Or did God ever try to go and take for himself a nation from the midst of another nation, by trials, by signs, by wonders, by war, by a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, and by great terrors, according to all that the Lord your God did for you in Egypt before your eyes? To you it was shown that you might know that the Lord himself is God. There is none other besides him. Out of heaven he let you hear his voice, that he might instruct you. On earth he showed you his great fire, and you heard his words out of the midst of the fire. And because he loved your fathers, therefore he chose their descendants after them. And he brought you out of Egypt with his presence, with his mighty power, driving out from before you nations greater and mightier than you, to bring you in, to give you their land as an inheritance, as it is this day. And also Deuteronomy 32, verses 8 and 9. When the Most High divided their inheritance to the nations, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Israel. For the Lord's portion is his people. Jacob is the place of his inheritance. The concept of God's inheritance also contains an end-time dimension, as one day all nations will become God's inheritance and will serve him. The concept of God's inheritance also contains an end-time dimension, as one day all nations will become God's inheritance and will serve him. The notion that the nations invaded God's inheritance threatens these divine promises. No question, the psalmist acknowledges that the sins of the people corrupted the people's covenantal relationship with God and brought upon the people all the consequences, as we read in Psalm 79, verses 8 and 9. "O do not remember former iniquities against us. Let your tender mercies come speedily to meet us, for we have been brought very low. Help us, O God of our salvation, for the glory of your name, and deliver us, and provide atonement for our sins, for your name's sake." The people's survival depends solely upon God's gracious intervention and the restoration of the covenantal bond through the atonement of sin. The Lord is God of our salvation, which conveys God's faithfulness to his covenantal promises. We read in Psalm 79, verse 9. "Help us, O God of our salvation, for the glory of your name, and deliver us and provide atonement for our sins, for your name's sake." However, more important than the restoration of Israel's fortunes is the defense of God's character in the world, as we just read in Psalm 79, verse 9. If the evil actions of the nations go unpunished, it will appear that God has lost his power. As we read in Psalm 74, 18 to 23, "Remember this, that the enemy has reproached, O Lord, and that a foolish people has blasphemed your name. O do not deliver the life of your turtle dove to the wild beast. Do not forget the life of your poor forever. Have respect to the covenant, for the dark places of the earth are full of the haunts of cruelty. Oh, do not let the oppressed return ashamed. Let the poor and needy praise your name. Arise, O God, plead your own cause. Remember how the foolish man reproaches you daily. Do not forget the voice of your enemies. The tumult of those who rise up against you increases continually." And Psalm 83, verses 16 to 18, "Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek your name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and dismayed forever. Yes, let them be put to shame and perish, that they may know that you, whose name alone is the Lord, are the Most High over all the earth." And Psalm 106, verse 47, "Save us, O Lord our God, and gather us from among the Gentiles, to give thanks to your holy name, to triumph in your praise." Only when God saves his people will his name be justified and uplifted. As today, the same principle existed back then. Our sins, our backsliding, our evils can bring disrepute, not only on ourselves, but worse, on the God whose name we profess. Our wrong actions can have detrimental spiritual effects on our witness and mission as well. How many people have been turned off to our faith by the actions of those professing the name of Christ? And so to finish today, from the Desire of Ages, page 671, we read, "The honour of God, the honour of Christ, is involved in the perfection of the character of his people." End of quote. How do you understand this important truth and what it should mean to your own Christian life? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. Sponsored by the Sabbath School Department and distributed through Hope Channel Australia, this podcast is also redistributed by Hope Channel Germany, Christian Record Services for the Blind. It is also available on SoundCloud and through multiple podcast distributors, including Apple iTunes. And you can listen and watch at the same time on YouTube. Remember, God is always faithful.